Now, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is a ranking member on Foreign Affairs, the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. He's also the member of Parliament for North Tongue. If you recall, the minority in Parliament have said that they were against any deployment of troops by Ghana in Niger to intervene in that country's internal affairs, if you like. Now, given that the defense chiefs have held this meeting in Ghana and appear to be singing from the same hymn book, what does the minority really think? So we called him up to help us appreciate their position, whether anything has changed at all. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. The chiefs have said that if everything else fails, then they will have to undertake the military. They have to go the military way, or they have to intervene militarily should everything fail. The point is, is this position different from what, a lot of people have spoken about? Because, it appears that they are putting the military intervention as a last resort, which is what everybody else has called for. So is there any change in position at all? Because people think that the initial position as espoused by ECOWAS and what we've heard today and in recent days, there is quite a shift from the old position. Now they appear to be coming towards the middle from the hardliner position Ahmed Bola Tinubu communicated some time ago.
Well, good evening, Salam. Good evening to all listeners. Let me emphasize that the position of the NDC caucus in Parliament has not changed. You recall that our party leadership put out a statement last week on this matter, a statement which was very much in sync with Article 40C of the Ghanaian Constitution. The Article 40C is very clear that in its dealings with other nations, the government shall promote respect for international law, treaty obligations, and the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means. By peaceful means, emphasis mine. So we take the view that, yes, let us all condemn military takeovers. We do not endorse coup d'etats. We want democracy to be entrenched. But even more fundamentally, we must be looking at what is causing these coups. Why is it that in 3 years we have had 6 coups in the sub-region? We must be worried about that. There are issues that ought to be addressed: the bad governance, the corruption, the state capture, the massive unemployment, the neo-colonial entanglements. These matters have to be confronted head-on. If they are not confronted, it does appear that we shall return to the era of coups that we all thought was behind us between the 1960s and 1980s. So having said that, listening to the ECOWAS chiefs of defense staff, you are right that the communication is somewhat confusing. Sometimes you get the impression they are ready, they are going all out, they are descending into Niger. Other times, like after today's meeting in Accra, they are talking about their requirements and that they have now put together their requirements, the logistics they need, the financial implications. So one is left quite confused exactly what these chiefs of defense staff want and what these heads of state really want done. And that is why we take the view that the heads of state should just have deepened diplomacy. They should have used constructive dialogue. They rushed in that 30th July 2023 communique, which was re-echoed in the 10th August communique. They seem to have rushed, presented everybody with a fait accompli, and even in their own member states, you are seeing the resistance. When I heard your clip, the defense minister claiming that there is such overwhelming support, I was wondering where our defense minister has been. Because in Ghana, the Presbyterian Church has issued a statement. The Christian Council has requested a meeting with the president. Civil society organizations have been speaking. Experts, major political parties, everybody is saying that don't use military intervention. Because, you see, the examples they keep citing about Gambia, for example, Gambia is not Niger. The Gambian situation, everybody knew that you are going in and you are going to deal with only the Gambians. The whole world was against them. In Niger, it's a different ballgame. You are going to find when you arrive, all these violent extremist groups. ISIL is there. Al-Qaeda of the Maghreb is there. Then you have all these private contractors. The Wagner Group is there. The intel is confirmed. They are there. And they appear to have some close relationship with the junta. Then you have military bases there. The French have a military base. The Americans have a military base. There are soldiers on the ground there. So you are going to have a proxy war, the geopolitical proxy war, as we are seeing in Ukraine, will rear its ugly head again. So it's not a simple matter. You're going to have a conflagration. And you have all of these interests, all of these forces that will be brought to bear. And there's even no guarantee that Bazoum, who they are so concerned about, will come out of this alive. So the real solution lies in diplomacy, lies in constructive dialogue. And we will urge ECOWAS, they should stop all these confusing signals. Look, only a couple of days back, I listened to the president of Cape Verde, who says that, look, I was part of the heads of state who issued this communique. I have reflected, I've listened to my people, and I think that we should think twice. Let us take the violent option, the military intervention off the table, and let us rather focus on diplomacy. Because, you see, when you follow the ECOWAS scene closely, I get a sense that they are spending more resources, more energy on the military mobilization instead of diplomacy. Because this meeting in Accra, I mean, I'm not aware of, a very concerted effort to go and engage all sides in Niger. So we insist that instead of sending our soldiers into Niger, which will be like just sending them to a slaughterhouse where there will be such massacre as all the analysts, all the pundits have predicted, let us go for what our constitution enjoins us under Article 40C, pursue peaceful resolution. Article 73 of our constitution also says that we should always look at our national interest when we are pursuing foreign policy. What really is Ghana's national interest? Going to engage in this proxy war, which will be fighting other people's wars, those who are exploiting uranium in that country and who have some interest there, who have military bases, who want to remain in Niger. Why do we want to get entangled in that mess? What really is our national interest? As the Constitution, Article 73, calls on us at all times to make our most important consideration when we are taking these decisions. So I really will renew the call that we have always made, that violence, military intervention, war is not going to help us in this situation. And finally, Stella, let me also emphasize that now you hear the Chiefs of Defense Staff presenting a budget. We are hearing all kinds of figures. None of the information we are picking up is less than $2 billion. It's clear that our government will require parliamentary approval. So the insistence by the Akufo-Addo regime that they will not come to parliament, how are they going to fund such a military intervention without parliamentary approval? Because Article 178 is very clear. So nobody can withdraw funds, nobody can back such an operation, which we don't support anyway, without parliamentary approval. So that is why you see the sense in the call that we have always made, that, look, such a matter, even Article 75 and the Gitmo decision is very clear. You need these resolutions debated by Parliament. They have to be ratified by Parliament, whether they are ECOWAS, AU, or whatever international agreement there may be. So even with the financial aspect of this whole, possible deployment, you need parliamentary approval. And you see government now finding itself in a tight corner. So I will just urge, like most people are saying, the Presbyterian Church, the Christian Council, the Muslim clerics. Look, in Nigeria, the Senate has spoken, the governors have issued a statement, the Yoruba Council, you go to Senegal, the Parliament has spoken. Cape Verdean president is saying that ECOWAS leaders do a rethink. I have had a rethink. So that should be the way forward, Salom.
Yes, I think it's quite easy to understand the position of the persons who do not support military intervention. But what do you think, or what in your view is making the ECOWAS leaders themselves seem resolute that military intervention really is a main way to go? Why are they insisting when quite a number of people think otherwise?
Your question is quite a difficult one and is open for all kinds of interpretations and opinions. In my candid opinion, Salom, I am of the view that ECOWAS leaders are frightened to death. They have seen what has happened in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, in Mali. 6 coups in 3 years. They are wondering who is next, which of them is next. So I am of the view that they want to stem the tide. They want to end this wave. And this is the option they have considered. Let's talk tough. Let's do what we didn't do earlier on. Let's make it very costly for anybody contemplating military intervention. Honestly, Salom, I would have wished that the leaders rather look at the causes and not the symptoms. They are still in a symptomatic framework instead of looking at the causative factors. It is the bad leadership, it's the corruption, it's the lack of opportunity, the state capture. Look, when in these countries leaders failed, terrorists took over. Burkina Faso, the terrorists control more than 60% of the country. The soldiers were helpless. And then their leaders were spending on themselves and things that were not priority. You have leaders who are changing their constitutions. You don't see this kind of, when in the same ECOWAS protocol, it is not only coups that are frowned upon, but constitutional manipulation, constitutional mutilation is also frowned upon in the same way. You don't see that resistance, that revulsion. They go and endorse them. They attend their swearing in, ceremonies. They go there as special guests. So I honestly will submit that instead of being scared of the next coup, they should rather be scared about the causative factors, the reasons why these coups are well received. You see the people celebrate. In as much as we all look, as a member of parliament, I know if there's a coup, God forbid, in Ghana, I lose my job. Every coup, the first announcement is parliament is dissolved. So sincerely, we all don't want coups. We think that military disruption does not help. But you see, there can be democratic disruptions, there can be democratic waste of time, democratic, distraction of countries. That concept must also be understood. And ECOWAS leaders should start looking at the causes instead of being frightened to death about the next coup. And you see, let me conclude on this question of yours by suggesting strongly that if care is not taken, what may even be a precipitating factor for more coups will be a bloodbath in Niger. If this ECOWAS deployment goes ahead, the soldiers are not well equipped, well resourced, and we have a conflagration and there's a massacre, you can begin to imagine the fallout, what will happen back home in their respective countries. So I don't think that the ECOWAS heads of state are really looking at the matters dispassionately and more, deeply and nuanced. I mean, in a way that really will help all of us address the current threat of coups that we face.
Very well. Thanks so much. The Honorable Samuel Okudeto Ablakwa, Ranking Member, Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament and MP for North Tongue, speaking to us on this matter.